White Moonlight and the Dark Knight Chess Game. 1. Meng Wanner is the only girl in the Meng family. She is handsome and well-behaved, but she is the least favored in the family. When my grandmother saw her aunt's daughter Meng Qingwen, she always smiled. Qingwen, she is really getting more and more beautiful. What followed was a cold word to her. Wanner, you child is too petty. Every time she heard this, Meng Wanner's heart felt like she was pricked by a needle. She hid in the corner of the courtyard, her eyes flashing with a hint of unwillingness. She secretly made up her mind. One day, she would win over her cousin who was praised by everyone. Underscore 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 un. 2. At school, Meng Wanner was also unhappy. Her grades declined, her teachers criticized her, and her self-confidence gradually disappeared. To make matters worse, several girls in her classmates often get into trouble with her. One day after school, several girls blocked her in the bathroom and reached out to grab her pocket money. Meng Wanner was shocked, but she held back her fear, shook her head and said, I won't give it. 1 of the girls was impatient, waved her hand, the corner of her clothes was grabbed and torn off, she felt pain but did not flinch. Underscore 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 un. 3. Coincidentally, a boy like Prince Charming passed by, heard a sound, and walked quickly into the bathroom. He was tall and handsome, his eyes as sharp as cold stars. What are you doing? Bullying, right? Several girls were stunned and quickly lowered their heads, and the boys stretched out their hands and pulled Meng Wanner up. Let's go, I'll take you home. On the way, he whispered, if others bully you, you must fight back, don't be afraid. Meng Wanner's heart was shocked, and for the first time she felt that someone was really doing something for her. Her heart was quietly touched, and a touch of emotion was secretly born. Underscore 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 un. 4. When she got home, her grandmother praised her cousin Meng Qingwen as usual, and did not forget to say with thorns, Wanner, did you see it? How sensible and smart people are, you. Meng Wanner bit her lip lightly, thinking to herself, one day, I will prove that I am better than Qingwen. At night, she silently wrote down her study plan by candlelight, and every line seemed to remind herself, she was no longer bullied or ignored. Underscore 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 un. 5. As the days passed, Meng Wanner began to show change at school. She studied hard and silently improved her grades in every exam, but her cousin was still radiant, which made her feel a lot of pressure. However, the crush in her heart also grew quietly, and every time she saw the male protagonist standing on the playground guiding her classmates, her heart couldn't help but pound. The male protagonist happened to pass by, his eyes were firm. Wanner, you have to believe in yourself, if you are wrong, you will correct it, and you will definitely do it next time. She lowered her head, but there was quietly hope in her heart, maybe, she could stand on her stage with hard work. Underscore 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 un. 6. Meng Qingwen noticed her cousin's efforts and felt a hint of displeasure. She began to provoke secretly, always making fun of Meng Wanner in class, and even boasting about her achievements in front of the male protagonist. Meng Wanner learned to be patient. She knew that real victory was not a quarrel, but the accumulation of strength and wisdom. During a lunch break, she secretly recited the text, holding a pen in her hand as if holding a weapon, and silently told herself, one day, I will impress everyone. Underscore 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 un. 7. When the school sports day came, the male protagonist was selected as the class representative, and Meng Qingwen naturally followed his aura. Meng Wanner silently participated in the women's competition. She felt the limits of physical strength and endurance, and for the first time understood that to surpass others, mood alone is not enough. During the competition, she fell and got up, and her resolute eyes attracted the attention of the male protagonist. At the end of the game, although the ranking was not the best, the male protagonist nodded slightly. Wanner, you did a good job. This sentence is like a fire, igniting more determination and courage in her heart. Underscore 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 un. 8. Meng Wanner began to participate more actively in various on-campus activities, whether it was academic competitions or sports, she no longer avoided it. The students gradually discovered that this girl, who usually seems weak, actually has perseverance and wisdom. Even some girls who had bullied her began to be in awe of her. She secretly recorded every progress and secretly laughed in her heart, one day, I will be more dazzling than Kingwen and the only one in the male protagonist's heart. Underscore 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 un. 9. When the winter vacation came, Meng Wanner was arranged to return to her hometown. The grandmother still did not forget to praise her cousin, but this time, her mentality changed. She looked at the snowy scenery outside the window and thought of what the male protagonist had said, if others bully you, you must fight back. This sentence echoed in her mind, and she secretly planned, not only grades, she wants to improve herself in all aspects, and she must stand on her own stage in the future and become a person admired by everyone. Underscore 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 un. 10. At the beginning of the new semester, Meng Wanner's efforts gradually emerged. The teacher was impressed by her, her grades improved significantly, and the atmosphere in the class began to change. The male protagonist often walks by between classes, her heart beats the same as before, but she also has more calmness and confidence. She thought to herself, from being protected to being able to protect herself, from being ignored to being impressive, she has already taken the first step, and the road ahead has just begun. 11. After the start of the new semester, Meng Wanner discovered that a transfer student named Su Muchen appeared in the class. Su Muchen was handsome and had an extraordinary temperament, which quickly attracted the attention of many girls, especially Meng Qingwen. Meng Wanner's heart tightened slightly, but she reminded herself, don't be disturbed by the outside world, just focus on your own efforts. One day between classes, Su Muchen accidentally noticed that Meng Wanner was studying seriously, and nodded slightly, you are very serious. Meng Wanner's face turned slightly red, and she thanked her in a low voice. She thought to herself, no matter how much light there is in the class, it will not make me lose myself. Underscore 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 un. 12. Campus life is still not easy. Several girls, jealous of Meng Wanner's progress, secretly designed traps to make her embarrassed in front of the whole class. During sports class, she was pushed down in the mud of the playground, her books were scattered, and her clothes were covered in mud. Everyone laughed. Meng Qingwen stood aside and frowned slightly, but did not help. At this moment, the male protagonist came over, helped her up, and said in a serious tone, Wanner, don't pay attention to them, next time, I hope you can stand more firmly. This sentence was like a force injected into her heart, she wiped off the dirt, reorganized the book, and her eyes were firm, I will definitely be able to do it. Underscore 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 un. 13. Meng Wanner began to practice sports, not only to strengthen her physical strength, but also to learn to stay calm in a crisis. Every time between classes, she secretly exercised, running, sit-ups, and shooting, all of which were practiced seriously. The male protagonist occasionally observed her, his eyes flashing with appreciation, but he never said much. He knows that this kind of effort is the most real growth. Meng Wanner gradually discovered that when the bullies in the class met her, their attitude slowly restrained and even began to cast curious glances at her. She smiled slightly in her heart, every drop of sweat is a counterattack against herself and others. Underscore 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 un. 14. During a class activity, the teacher arranged a small debate competition. Meng Wanner was originally nervous because the pressure of public performance made her flustered. At the beginning of the competition, she took a deep breath and clearly stated the arguments she had prepared in advance. The tone was stable and powerful, the logic was clear, and the students in the audience listened with bated breath. Meng Qingwen was disdainful at first, but the more she listened, the more nervous she became, because Meng Wanner's performance exceeded expectations. In the end, Meng Wanner won the debate, and the class erupted in applause. At that moment, she felt the power of self-confidence and became even more convinced, true victory never depends on the eyes of others. underscore 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 un. 15. After school, Meng Wanner was walking on campus and met the male protagonist, who was sorting out the equipment on the court. The male protagonist smiled, "You did well today." Meng Wanner's heart warmed up and she whispered, "Thank you." She knew in her heart that she was changing step by step, not only improving her grades and physical strength, but also growing psychologically. On the way home, a sentence flashed through her mind, "One day, I will stand in front of everyone, no longer being ignored, and no longer just having a crush." 16. Meng Wanner's efforts gradually appeared, her grades improved significantly, and the teacher's attitude towards her began to change. The classmates in the class saw that she was becoming more and more confident and secretly looked at her with admiration. However, Meng Qingwen was not reconciled. She often stole the limelight in class activities, showing off herself in front of the male protagonist from time to time. Meng Wanner's heart tightened slightly, but she reminded herself, "Just focus on yourself, one day, everyone will see the real me." During class, the male protagonist walked by inadvertently and noticed that Meng Wanner was silently sorting out his notes. He nodded slightly, with encouragement in his eyes. This small action made her feel extremely warm and worked harder to consolidate her progress. Underscore 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 un. 17. At a school art festival, the class arranged a painting competition. Meng Wanner chose a watercolor painting depicting the campus scenery, incorporating her own emotions and thoughts into the painting. At the competition site, the works of other students were brightly colored, but Meng Wanner's paintings were simple but full of connotation, with both aesthetics and emotions. The judges nodded in praise, and her inner self-confidence was ignited again. Meng Qingwen looked at the painting, her brows frowned slightly, and she felt a little jealous. Meng Wanner thought to herself, "Finally, my efforts began to be noticed, even if it was just a small appreciation, it was enough to make me go further." Underscore 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 un. 18. As the days passed, Meng Wanner gradually established her own status in the class. Although her cousin is still dazzling, Meng Wanner's hard work and perseverance have made her no longer ignored. One day after school, the male protagonist invited her to the library to prepare for a subject competition. Along the way, he gently reminded her, "Some things, don't just work the surface, but understand them with your heart." Meng Wanner's heart trembled slightly. She understood that this was not only academic support, but also a kind of attention and trust. The secret love in her heart quietly heated up, and she secretly vowed, no matter what, she must become someone worthy of his respect. Underscore 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 un. 19. The girls in the class began to provoke secretly again, trying to attack Meng Wanner in the upcoming sports meeting. She was originally a little anxious, but recalled what the male protagonist had said, "If others bully you, you must fight back." On the day of the competition, she gritted her teeth and completed each event with perseverance, and although she fell behind at first, she finally won second place with a consistent performance. After the game, the male protagonist walked up to her and smiled, "You are really great today." Meng Wanner felt unprecedented affirmation and confidence, and became even more convinced that her efforts were not in vain. Underscore 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 un. 20. The arrival of the winter vacation gave Meng Wanner more time to grow independently, and she began to use the holidays to read extracurricular books and participate in course training to continuously improve her abilities. At the same time, the crush on the male protagonist in her heart is even more obvious, but she understands that liking someone is not only an expression of emotions, but also requires her to grow to a height worthy of the other person. Meng Wanner wrote down her mood in her diary, "I want to become better, not just to surpass my cousin, but also to become my true self." The cold wind blew, and her figure stretched out in the setting sun, resolute and beautiful. 21. Halfway through the winter vacation, Meng Wanner participated in a citywide subject competition. She arrived at the examination room early, sorted out the information, recited the formula silently, and repeatedly reminded herself, "No matter what, you can't be underestimated anymore." During the competition, she was calm, answering the problems one by one, with firm and organized brush strokes. The male protagonist appeared outside the venue by chance, with a hint of appreciation flashing in his eyes, and he smiled at her focus and efforts. After the competition, Meng Wanner achieved excellent results, and the class and teachers were impressed by her. She secretly rejoiced in her heart. Hard work will always be seen, even if it was always ignored in the past. She can prove herself now. Underscore 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 un. 22. After returning to school, Meng Qingwen smiled on the surface, but secretly planned how to maintain her aura in the male protagonist's heart. She often fights for dominance in class activities and even acts exceptionally active in front of the male lead. Meng Wanner saw it in her eyes, but there was no resentment in her heart. She silently redoubled her efforts, taking into account both study and socializing, and gradually established her influence. During a recess, the male protagonist walked up to her and whispered, "Wanner, I have seen your efforts." Her heart warmed slightly, and she nodded slightly. At this moment, she understood that true strength is to win respect on oneself, not just to compete for the attention of others. Underscore 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 un. 23. The class organized a large-scale social event, and Meng Wanner was assigned to organize and plan. She cleverly arranged games and competitions to liven up the class atmosphere, maintaining order while showcasing her intelligence. During the event, Meng Qingwen tried to steal all the attention, but Meng Wanner responded calmly and calmly resolved the embarrassing scene, and even let the male protagonist notice her carefulness and wisdom. In the evening, she sat on the empty playground, watching the stars twinkle, and secretly sighed in her heart. Every challenge is an opportunity to improve yourself, and the real victory is to surpass your past self. Underscore 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 un. 24. The school organized literary club activities, and Meng Wanner participated in the short story writing competition. She uses daily observations and inner emotions as materials, and her words are natural and smooth, full of true feelings. During the selection, the teacher praised her work by name and even asked her to share it with the whole school. For the first time, Meng Wanner felt that her efforts not only improved her grades, but also touched the hearts of others. This made her more confident in herself and realized that it is not just about superficial beauty or achievements, but true charm comes from inner strength. Underscore 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 un. 25. The male protagonist began to show more attention to Meng Wanner's growth, but he always kept his distance, making her feel both expectant and nervous. One day between classes, he quietly left a sentence, "Wanner, you are really getting more and more different." Meng Wanner's heart throbbed slightly, but she didn't respond immediately. She just lowered her head slightly, and a trace of perseverance flashed in her eyes. She knew in her heart that liking someone is no longer just a simple heartbeat, but also a motivation that motivates her to strive to grow and surpass her past self. Back in her seat, she silently clenched her pen and secretly vowed, no matter how difficult it is ahead, she will walk out of her own path of light. 26. With the arrival of the spring semester, Meng Wanner's academic and extracurricular abilities gradually improved, and her classmates' attitudes towards her began to change, and even some girls who had provoked her began to look at her with respect. However, Meng Qingwen was not convinced, and she still frequently provoked in class activities, trying to steal the male protagonist's attention. Every time Meng Wanner performs well, she always deliberately compares to make Meng Wanner feel pressured. Meng Wanner was calm in her heart, and she secretly reminded herself, the real victory is not to compete for the praise of others, but to make yourself stronger. During class, she continued to work silently, her notes were organized more neatly than anyone else, and she devoted herself to each course. This focus has allowed her to gradually establish an unshakable influence in the class. Underscore 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 un. 27. One day, the class was arranged to participate in the campus sports day, and Meng Wanner was assigned to the relay race event. She was a little nervous at first, because it was not only a physical competition, but also a psychological challenge. At the beginning of the game, she took a deep breath and completed each handover with a steady rhythm, finally helping the team win by a narrow margin. The classmates erupted in applause, and even the usually indifferent teacher nodded slightly. The male protagonist smiled at her in the crowd, his eyes full of approval. Meng Wanner quietly felt a sense of pride in her heart. This kind of recognition won by her own efforts is more real than any superficial compliment. Underscore 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 un. 28. After the sports day, the class held a celebration party. Meng Qingwen still tried to attract the attention of the male protagonist, but Meng Wanner was no longer anxious, and she planned the program arrangement on the stage to make the party both interesting and orderly. The male protagonist secretly noticed her ability and had a new understanding in his heart. She is not only a well-behaved girl, but also has wisdom and courage. After the party, Meng Wanner walked alone on the campus path, recalling her efforts and growth along the way, and secretly said to herself, no matter the wind or rain, I will go on and become a real strong person. Underscore 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 un. 29. As the heroine's ability improves, her cousin's jealousy becomes more and more obvious. Meng Qingwen deliberately created problems in class activities, trying to make Meng Wanner embarrassed. However, Meng Wanner was prepared and dealt with it calmly, not only solving the problem perfectly, but also cleverly resolving the embarrassment. The classmates saw it in their eyes and secretly admired her wit and calmness. This time, she was more determined in her heart. True victory depends on wisdom and hard work, not superficial brilliance. At night, she sat alone in front of the window, looking at the night sky, secretly vowing in her heart, one day, everyone will see the real me. Underscore 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 un. 30. Meng Wanner began to form her own influence in school, whether it was academics, activities, or interpersonal relationships, she could do it with ease. The male protagonist gradually paid more attention to her, smiling more during eye contact between classes, and occasional help made her feel warm and encouraged. She knew in her heart that this recognition earned by her own efforts was more precious than any external praise. Meng Wanner returned home and looked at herself in the mirror, her eyes shining with perseverance and hope. The shadow of the past is no longer a constraint, and her path is moving step by step towards light and confidence. 31. The semester has entered a critical stage, and large-scale comprehensive competitions are held on campus. Meng Wanner is already fully prepared, and she spends every day outside of class for review and simulation exercises. On the day of the competition, she calmly dealt with every problem, calmly analyzed unfamiliar questions, and gradually widened the gap with other students. Meng Qingwen was shocked and jealous when she saw Meng Wanner's performance, and secretly decided to regain her brilliance in the next activities. The male protagonist observed from the sidelines, his eyes full of appreciation, and quietly cast an affirmative look at her. Meng Wanner's heart warmed slightly, and she secretly made up her mind, no matter how her cousin challenged, she would use her strength to prove herself. Underscore 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 un. 32. The results of the competition were announced. Meng Wanner ranked among the best, and her classmates and teachers praised her hard work and wisdom. She stood on the podium, her heart no longer the same apprehension as before, but full of confidence and calmness. Every effort eventually became her strength. During the evening self-study, the male protagonist walked up to her and whispered, "Wanner, you are really different." She nodded slightly, a hint of sweetness quietly rose in her heart, but more of a firmness in her future. I am not only for others, but also for myself. Underscore 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 un. 33. The class sports day came again, and Meng Qingwen secretly planned to make Meng Wanner make a fool of herself in the competition. During the relay race, Meng Wanner encountered an accident, her shoelaces loosened and she almost fell, but she quickly adjusted her pace, stabilized her figure, and still completed the handover. The students in the audience were amazed that this perseverance and calmness made her win more respect. The male protagonist looked at her performance and secretly praised it in his heart. Meng Wanner also felt for the first time that true victory is not only about ranking, but also about the courage and wisdom to face difficulties. On this day, she silently said to herself in her heart, no matter how provocative my cousin is, I can deal with it calmly. Underscore 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 un. 34. The atmosphere on campus gradually changed, and students who had been prejudiced against Meng Wanner began to ask her for advice on learning methods and competition experience. Meng Wanner was not stingy, patiently shared her experience, and slowly established an unshakable prestige in the class. At the same time, her cousin's jealousy reached its peak, and she deliberately made things difficult for Meng Wanner in class, but every time she was cleverly resolved by Meng Wanner. The male protagonist began to pay more attention to Meng Wanner's ability and calmness, and the interaction between them gradually increased, but he still retained ambiguity and expectation. Meng Wanner knows in her heart that although this path of growth is full of challenges, every crisis is an opportunity for her to stand higher. _ 35. At the end of the semester, the class held a theatrical performance. Meng Wanner is responsible for planning and participating in the performance. She perfectly integrates her intelligence and creativity, and the whole performance is smooth and exciting. Meng Qingwen still tried to steal the limelight, but Meng Wanner resolved the embarrassment with calmness and confidence, winning applause from the audience. The male protagonist applauded from the audience, with a smile and appreciation in his eyes. Meng Wanner's heart throbbed slightly, but she was more calm than ever. In the evening, she walked alone on the campus path, recalling the challenges and growth along the way, and secretly made up her mind, on the road ahead, no matter the wind or rain, I will take my own path of light. At this moment, she is no longer the timid girl she used to be, but a confident, resolute, and intelligent being. 36. As the final exam approached, Meng Wanner began to prepare with all her might. She gets up early and goes to bed late, sorting out every homework in an orderly manner. The classmates saw her efforts and secretly admired them, while Meng Qingwen felt restless. During a mock exam, Meng Qingwen secretly made small movements in her seat in an attempt to disrupt Meng Wanner's thinking. But Meng Wanner was calm and focused on the test paper, undisturbed at all. After the exam, she smiled and looked at the test paper, secretly satisfied in her heart. Every challenge is a tempering of her will. The male protagonist silently observed her performance outside the classroom, and his heart was full of appreciation. He approached and said softly, Wanner, you have really made great progress. Meng Wanner smiled slightly, her heart warmed, and she thought to herself, if you like someone, you must also make yourself better. _ 37. After the exam, the class held a final party. Meng Wanner was elected as the program planner and host, and she cleverly arranged every link to make the party run smoothly, which was both interesting and orderly. During the party, Meng Qingwen tried to steal the limelight, but Meng Wanner was unheard and skillfully resolved the embarrassment, making the atmosphere of the whole party climax. The classmates cast admiring glances at her, and the male protagonist also smiled and applauded in the audience. At that moment, Meng Wanner felt that she was finally standing in the center of the stage, no longer being ignored, and no longer just a shadow of her cousin. _ 38. On the eve of the winter vacation, the school held a school-wide comprehensive competitive competition. Meng Wanner signed up for multiple projects, from academics to sports, and gave her all in each one. On the day of the competition, she encountered strong opponents, whether it was trivia or sports, she was able to deal with it calmly. With every challenge, she resolved difficulties with calmness and wisdom, gradually establishing her reputation throughout the school. When the male protagonist watched the game, there was surprise and appreciation in his eyes, and he noticed that Meng Wanner was not only smart, but also had a resolute character. This made her feel a touch of sweetness in her heart and made her more convinced of the value of her hard work. _ 39. Meng Qingwen's jealousy reached its peak. She tried to sabotage Meng Wanner's plan during the game, but every time Meng Wanner cleverly resolved it, even putting herself in an embarrassing situation. The classmates began to publicly support Meng Wanner, and her cousin's light was gradually suppressed, and she felt restless. In the evening, Meng Wanner sat alone on the library bench, recalling the challenges and efforts along the way, and secretly sighed in her heart. The shadow of the past is no longer a constraint, and every effort is proof that she has stood taller. The male protagonist walked over quietly and sat gently next to her. Wanner, you are really great. She smiled slightly, feeling warm and steady in her heart, and secretly made up her mind, no matter how difficult the road in the future, no matter how difficult it is, I will continue to go. _ 40. At the end of the semester, the school held an award ceremony. Meng Wanner has achieved excellent results in academics, sports, and event planning, and has been recognized by the whole school. She stood on the stage, her eyes confident and firm, and the classmates and teachers in the audience applauded warmly, and the male protagonist also applauded and smiled in the audience. Meng Qingwen stood aside, her face complicated, and she had to admit in her heart that no matter how strong her cousin was, she could not compare to Meng Wanner's all-round strength and inner perseverance. After the award ceremony, Meng Wanner went home in the night, her thoughts full of thoughts. She knows that every step of the way, from being overlooked to being in the spotlight, from having a crush to being appreciated, is worth every step. The night breeze blows, and her figure elongates under the light, symbolizing the efforts of the past and the light of the future, resolute and shining. 41. At the beginning of the winter vacation, Meng Wanner received an invitation from the male protagonist to participate in winter camp activities outside the school. This event not only features learning tasks, but also physical challenges and cooperative games. Meng Wanner was both excited and nervous. She knew that this was an opportunity to get closer to the male protagonist, and it was also a stage to show her abilities. At the camp, Meng Wanner used wisdom and courage to complete various challenges, especially in the puzzle-solving game. She calmly analyzed the clues and led the group to victory. The male protagonist's eyes flashed with surprise, and he said softly, "Wanner, you are really outstanding." Meng Wanner's heart throbbed slightly, but she was even more determined. If you like someone, you must also make yourself worthy of this attention and respect. Underscore 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 un. 42. On the second day of the event, the class arranged a physical fitness competition. Meng Qingwen tried to suppress Meng Wanner in various competitions, but she had already learned to deal with it calmly. In the tug-of-war competition, Meng Wanner not only showed her strength, but also used strategy to lead the team to reverse the situation and finally won. The male protagonist in the audience cast a surprised look, and Meng Wanner's heart welled up with warmth. In the evening, by the bonfire, the class sat around chatting, and the male protagonist quietly walked to Meng Wanner. "You are really great today." Meng Wanner smiled slightly, and the joy in her heart was indescribable. She understands that this recognition earned through her own efforts and wisdom is more precious than any simple compliment. Underscore 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 un. 43. After returning to school after the event, Meng Wanner's reputation was further consolidated. The classmates asked her for advice on learning and strategy methods, but Meng Qingwen gradually realized her gap and was dissatisfied but had to admit it. Meng Wanner was calm in her heart. She did not show off, but silently sorted out her notes and plans, secretly telling herself, "The real victory is to let yourself grow and surpass your past self." The male protagonist's attention to her has become more and more obvious, and he will occasionally remind her to pay attention to her body or give study suggestions between classes. Meng Wanner was quietly happy in her heart, but she still remained calm and confident. Underscore 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 un. 44. At the end of the semester, the school held a comprehensive evaluation, and Meng Wanner achieved excellent results in all fields, whether it was academics, sports, or event planning. She was among the best. At the awards ceremony, Meng Wanner stood in the center of the stage. The audience applauded thunderously, and the male protagonist looked at her with a smile in the audience, with appreciation and tenderness in his eyes. Meng Qingwen stood aside, her face complicated, and she was unwilling but had to admit defeat. This time, Meng Wanner is not just a superficial victory, she has completely surpassed her cousin's influence with wisdom and hard work. Meng Wanner secretly sighed in her heart. Every step of growth is proof of her own efforts, not only winning over her cousin, but also winning her true self. Underscore 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 un. 45. Before the end of the winter vacation, the male protagonist asked Meng Wanner to take a walk by the small lake on campus. He said softly, "Wanner, you have really become very different in the past 6 months." Meng Wanner smiled slightly, and a warmth quietly rose in her heart. "Thank you, because of your encouragement, I have the courage to keep working hard." The lake rippled in the microwaves, and the sunset cast a golden light, reflecting on their figures. Meng Wanner felt a sense of steadfastness and joy that she had never felt before. She secretly told herself, "No matter what difficulties I encounter in the future, I will continue to walk firmly and confidently as I am now." This power comes not only from oneself, but also from understanding love and respect. 46. At the beginning of the new semester, Meng Wanner returned to campus, full of confidence. She is no longer the neglected girl of the past, but an unshakable presence in the class. During class activities, she was elected as a student council officer and was responsible for planning large-scale campus events. Meng Wanner calmly responded to every detail, showing wisdom and maintaining order, which impressed the teachers and students of the school. The male protagonist observed silently at the event with appreciation and pride in his eyes. He quietly walked to her side and whispered, "Wanner, I really didn't expect you to be so good." Meng Wanner smiled slightly, and her heart warmed. The efforts along the way were finally truly seen. _________________________________________________________________________________________________________ involving academics competitions involving literature, and art. Meng Wanner signed up for multiple projects, from learning to physical fitness, and went all out in each one. During the competition, she encountered unexpected challenges, but with her calmness, wisdom, and perseverance, she overcame them one by one, gradually widening the gap with her opponents. The classmates, teachers, and male protagonists in the audience were all amazed by her performance. After the competition, Meng Wanner won a number of honors and stood on the podium, and the audience applauded thunderously. The male protagonist looked affectionately in the audience, smiled and applauded, and Meng Wanner felt unprecedented steadfastness and confidence. ________________________________________________________________________________________________________________ 48. When finally admitted, the class atmosphere was harmonious again, and Meng Wanner's efforts and wisdom became a recognized role model for the whole class. At night, Meng Wanner walked alone by the campus lake, recalling the growth and challenges along the way, and her heart was full of pride. From being ignored to being affirmed, from timidity to confidence, every step was earned by her own efforts. The male protagonist quietly walked to her side and said softly, "Wanner, you are really special." Meng Wanner looked up, her eyes firm and soft, "Because I have always believed that those who work hard will always be seen." At this moment, the distance between them is no longer far, and ambiguity and appreciation gradually turn into a bond in their hearts. ____________________________________________________________________________________________________ forty-nine. At the campus party at the end of the semester, Meng Wanner was invited to give a speech. Her tone steady and confident, "Everyone who works hard should be seen. No matter how deep the shadow of the past is, as long as you persevere, you can always usher in your own light." The audience applauded thunderously. The male protagonist's eyes were affectionate, he looked at her with a smile, his eyes full of affirmation and tenderness. Meng Qingwen stood aside silently, admitting in her heart, no matter what, she could not surpass Meng Wanner's all-round strength and inner fortitude. Meng Wanner understands at this moment that true victory is not only honor and achievements, but also surpassing herself and becoming the best version of herself. ___________________________________________________________________________________ and the school year is over, and the campus is bathed in a warm sunset. Meng Wanner and the male protagonist walked side by side on the lakeside path, the breeze blew, and she felt unprecedented peace of mind and happiness. The male protagonist said softly, "Wanner, along the way, you really impressed me and made me more sure, I want to always be by your side." Meng Wanner smiled slightly, and warmth flowed in her heart, "I also want to keep going, not only for myself, but also for you." Under the setting sun, their figures are elongated, symbolizing the efforts of the past and the brightness of the future. Meng Wanner finally grew from a neglected little girl to a confident, resolute, and admired existence. The applause, lights, and laughter on campus seemed to testify to her efforts, and she understood that the true light came from her own step by step, and love and respect were the most precious gains of this journey.